Have you ever stopped to think that maybe what you call failure isn't a mistake? Maybe it's a silent call for a transformation that you haven't yet had the courage to accept. Because the truth is brutal, the pain you avoid feeling is exactly the bridge that could lead you to your deepest strength. The world will try to convince you that you need more success, more control, more external validation. But what if all you really need is the courage to look within and trust what's already inside you? At the end of this video, you'll discover how to turn your pain into personal power, how to listen to the voice of your soul, and how to rebuild your confidence in something the world can take away from you. Get ready, it won't be a video about easy formulas or pretty phrases. It will be a symbolic dive, uncomfortable at times, always liberating, for you to awaken the strength that was dormant inside all along. How to transform trauma into personal power. Many believe their traumas are life sentences. But the truth is different. What hurt you can also be the foundation stone on which your strength will be built. As it is written in Romans 8:28, all things work together for good to those who love God. Even the most painful ones. Think about the most difficult moments in your life. They seemed random, unfair, even cruel. But there is something sacred behind the pain, an invisible choice. Remain a victim. Or be reborn as the author of your own story. As Viktor Frankl said, between the stimulus and the response there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose our response. The turning point happens in silence. When the internal question changes from "why did this happen to me?" to "how can I transform this?" This small, almost imperceptible shift is where true personal alchemy begins. Not as revenge, but as rebirth. When you take responsibility for your narrative, not for the violence you suffered, but for what you decide to build from it, trauma loses its grip. Life stops being a sequence of injuries and becomes a fertile field of personal power. Trauma hides a truth that few dare face. It can be the lens that reveals inner worlds that most never see. Whoever looks outside dreams, whoever looks inside wakes up, Carl Jung said. And it is the injured eyes that learn to see deeper. Yes, the path is arduous. Sometimes you will feel drawn back into old patterns, like waves pulling you under. But every time you choose to stand up, you are strengthening invisible roots that make your growth unshakable. Every fall is a chance to grow in depth. Maybe today you see your traumas as prisons. But what if they were portals? What if each wound carried within it a forgotten piece of your own power? This is inner alchemy, transforming fear into courage, rejection into freedom, silence into wisdom. There is freedom when you understand that pain does not have the power to define your value. You are more than what happened to you. You are what you decide to do with it. The stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone, says Psalm 118:22. Maybe you are that stone, rejected by the world, but essential for your own construction. Even more, the same pain that seemed to isolate you can be the strongest bridge of connection with others. Because those who have crossed their own darkness carry a light that the world silently seeks. But that light only shines when you stop hiding your scars. Now, take a deep breath and ask yourself, am I tending my wounds as sacred passages, or am I, without realizing it, perpetuating self-abandonment? The difference between true self-care and self-abandonment. Sometimes what you call self-care is actually a subtle form of letting go of yourself. There is a silent, but gigantic, difference between taking care of yourself to grow and anesthetizing yourself to avoid real pain. What comforts is not always healing. Have you ever noticed that many habits that appear to be self-love are just disguised attempts at control? This is how many disorders such as bulimia, compulsion and perfectionism emerged. The body screams what the soul tries to silence. As Paul said in Romans 7:15, "For I do not do the good that I want, but the evil that I do not want, that I do." Really taking care of yourself is different from punishing yourself under the guise of discipline. True self-care isn't about following a rigid list of perfection, it's courageously listening to what your body, mind, and spirit really need, and responding to it without judgment. The problem is that society sells the idea that self-care is aesthetics, indulgence, consumption. But true self-care is sometimes uncomfortable. It's going to bed early when you want to escape in the early hours of the morning. It's saying no when everything in you wants to please. It's staying true to yourself, even when the world expects you to abandon yourself. Imagine a child lost in a dark forest. Now think, would you take care of her by shouting, demanding, or ignoring her fear? Or would you welcome it with patience and love? That child is you. And every day, in the way you treat yourself, you are responding to your inner child. Nietzsche wrote, "Whoever fights monsters must take care that he does not become one of them." In the search for strength, many end up reinforcing self-abandonment, demanding of themselves the perfection that was once demanded of them by others. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy of your own love. Self-care is about becoming a safe place for yourself. It's building a home within yourself where all parts, even the most wounded, can rest without fear. It's not about giving in to laziness, but about nurturing the energy that truly sustains your growth. The question you need to ask is not, am I being strong enough? But rather, am I being kind to myself as I walk through my pain? Because sometimes being kind to yourself is the most revolutionary act you can do. Remember, true self-care is movement towards life. Self-abandonment, disguised as discipline or momentary pleasure, is a silent escape from your own soul. Which one have you chosen on your hardest days? Now, a reflection is necessary. If your energy shapes the way you see the world, what type of energy have you projected into your relationships? Why your energy shapes relationships? Have you ever noticed that sometimes the person you most idealized was actually just a mirror? It wasn't about her. It was about what you projected. What you felt, what you expected, what you wanted to see. The truth is simple and disconcerting. We don't see others for who they are. We see others as we are. Your energy is not neutral. She is a living field, silently shaping everything around her. Your beliefs, your wounds, your hopes, they all color the way you perceive others. With the measure you measure, it will be measured back to you, Jesus taught in Luke 6:38. The energy you emit becomes the soil in which your relationships grow or rot. How many times have you placed secret expectations on someone and then been disappointed? Maybe that person never promised anything. But inside you, the projection was already made, you needed it to be something. And when I realized that it wasn't, disappointment took over. Projection is when you throw parts of yourself that you haven't yet recognized onto others. Your fear of being abandoned. His eagerness to be validated. Your unconscious desire for salvation. And until these inner shadows are illuminated, you will continue to mistake mirrors for windows. Carl Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us in others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves." But the opposite is also true. Everything we idealize in others is a clue to the parts of ourselves we long to find, or deny. Your energy shapes your relationships because you are constantly teaching others, without words, how to treat you. When you overflow neediness, you attract those who will exploit it. When self-love overflows, it attracts those who know how to respect invisible limits. Life is generous in that sense. She offers you walking mirrors so you can recognize yourself. But this takes courage, looking beyond the other person's face and asking yourself, what exactly am I looking for here? Recognition? Approval? A savior? You know that strange feeling of losing someone who, in truth, was never yours? Maybe what you lost wasn't the person, but the energy you projected onto them. And freeing yourself from this is one of the purest acts of spiritual maturation. So, before you judge the other, or before you judge yourself for having made a mistake, remember, every relationship that fell apart was, in fact, a silent invitation for you to see a dormant part of yourself. And that is an invitation that only brave souls accept. Now, think with me, does what you call self-love actually have hidden roots in the invisible narcissism that we all carry without realizing it? Narcissism versus self-love, clearing up confusion. In a world that exalts perfect images and empty validations, it's easy to confuse self-love with narcissism. But there is a difference that changes everything. Self-love sets you free. Narcissism imprisons you. One expands the soul, the other makes her a hostage to her appearance. Narcissism is not just exaggerated self-promotion, it is a hidden hunger for recognition, a dependence on the eyes of others to feel alive. As Jesus says in Matthew 23:12, "Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted." Self-love, on the other hand, is silent. He doesn't need an audience. Self-love is taking care of your soul when no one is watching. It's doing what's right for you, even if no one applauds. Narcissism is taking care of your image so that everyone believes you are fine, even when inside you are empty and lost. What few realize is that true self-love requires internal confrontation. It requires accepting not only your qualities, but also your shadows. Become who you are, said Nietzsche. Narcissism, by contrast, requires denying one's shadow, faking perfection to keep the illusion alive. Do you notice the difference? Self-love is being whole, even if imperfect. Narcissism is wanting to be adored, even if it's through a mask you barely recognize anymore. And the more you feed this mask, the more you distance yourself from your true self. Self-love doesn't scream. He whispers. It does not require validation, it blooms in silence. Narcissism, on the other hand, is noisy, it needs to be seen, liked, approved. And each external applause only reinforces the internal emptiness that was never welcomed. In practice, ask yourself, Do you feel good about yourself on silent nights when no one is looking? Or does your self-esteem crumble in the absence of recognition? This is the difference between self-love and narcissism. One is root. The other is a facade. In Proverbs 16:18 it is written, "Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit goes before a fall." Narcissism, no matter how brilliant it may seem, always leads to an internal downfall. True self-love, even without glamour, builds an indestructible fortress within you. Freeing yourself from narcissism is accepting that you are worthy. Even when you fail, even when no one is watching, even when the world is indifferent. And this acceptance is the seed of a confidence that cannot be taken away from you. Now, tell me, when was the last time you listened to your own intuition? Without worrying about whether the world would approve of your choice? Intuition as a tool to avoid toxic relationships. There is a voice inside you that knows. I always knew. Before words, before logic, before excuses. That voice is intuition, the whisper of your soul trying to protect you. But how many times have you ignored it, preferring to believe in the beautiful facade that the world presented? Toxic relationships don't start out like storms, they begin as pleasant breezes that carry a subtle chill down your spine, that invisible discomfort you try to rationalize. Above all else, guard your heart, for from it come the springs of life, says Proverbs 4:23. Intuition is the silent guardian of this heart. Reason builds arguments. Intuition builds alerts. While your mind justifies strange behaviors, he was just tired, she's just intense, your body feels tension in your shoulders, knots in your stomach, insomnia for no reason. The body whispers what the soul has already understood. Intuition is like a wild animal, the more you try to tame it to please social expectations, the more it hides. But when you respect it, it becomes your most faithful guide. As Jung said, whoever looks outside dreams, whoever looks inside wakes up. And waking up to your own intuition can save your emotional life. How many times have you really wanted to believe that someone was different from what your instinct said? You painted bright colors where there was only gray. But the truth is that no one fools their body for long. The problem is, sometimes you'd rather be deceived than face the emptiness of a loss. Your intuition is not based on paranoia, it is based on energetic perception. It captures subtle inconsistencies, invisible misalignments between words and actions. The mind doubts. The body has already decided. The soul has already signaled. And ignoring these signs is the first step to falling into the cycle of toxicity. Imagine walking through a minefield relying only on someone else's map. Now imagine walking trusting the internal compass that God planted within you. Psalm 32:8 reminds, "I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you and watch over you." Your intuition is an extension of this care. Self-knowledge sharpens intuition. Trauma distorts it. If you have not yet healed your wounds, your intuition may be confused with fear. But if you learn to distinguish fear from wisdom, your soul begins to speak louder than any external manipulation. Protecting your peace is more important than maintaining any illusory connection. People come and go. The connection with your intuition, if nurtured, remains your most precious shield. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, says Colossians 3:15. Intuition does not seek proof, it senses the truth before it becomes evident. And here the inevitable question arises, is your incessant search for external success taking you away from true inner abundance? How obsessing with success blocks your true abundance. We live in an era where success has become synonymous with rush, anxiety and insane self-demand. But the more you run after it like someone chasing a mirage, the more it slips through your hands. Real abundance is not achieved by force, it is received in a state of alignment. The obsession with success is often a mask for deeper fears, fear of rejection, of failure, of insignificance. What good is it to a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Asks Jesus in Mark 8:36. When your soul is sacrificed on the altar of ambition, external victory becomes internal defeat. There is a subtle but immense difference between working for purpose and working out of desperation. One moves by inspiration, the other, due to the need for validation. And as long as you act guided by the fear of being forgotten, you will never find the fulfillment you seek. Obsession breeds anxiety, and anxiety is the energy of lack. You vibrate scarcity even when you conquer. You carry the shadow of dissatisfaction even when celebrating victories. And the universe, which responds to your real vibration, continues to echo that same lack back to you. In Proverbs 10:22 it is written, "The blessing of the Lord makes rich, and he adds no sorrow." Abundance is not a prize for the most anxious. It is a natural state for those who are aligned with inner truth. Anxiety blocks the flow. Confidence unlocks. The paradox is simple: when you let go of obsession, abundance begins to find you. Like the river that naturally flows into the sea, true success does not need to be forced, it is an inevitable consequence of authenticity lived in a state of faith. Nietzsche said, "Life is a well of joy, but where cowards see poisonous wells, the spiritual heart sees springs of healing." Those who live in obsession only see threats. Those who live in trust recognize invisible opportunities. Imagine that your every desire is a seed planted in fertile soil. If you dig the earth every day to see if it has germinated, you will kill it. But if you trust the invisible process, life flourishes at the right time. Faith is the art of respecting the invisible. Obsession is a form of disrespect for the wisdom of time. Confidence is recognizing that what is yours is on its way, and that you don't need to destroy yourself to receive it. You just need to prepare yourself to accept what is already written for you. So, now think, does your energy for success come from the fear of losing? Or from the complete confidence that you are already enough? Independent women and the challenge of modern relationships. The world has changed, but not everyone has changed with it. While many women have achieved emotional, financial and spiritual freedom, some men still live trapped in old paradigms, unable to deal with feminine strength without feeling their own fragility exposed. A woman's independence should not be a threat, but an invitation to real partnership. However, in many cases, it triggers deep insecurities in men who still confuse control with love. As Proverbs 31:25 says, "She is clothed with strength and dignity, and she smiles without fear of the future." Being a strong woman in a world that expects your submission is, in itself, a revolutionary act. But being strong and, at the same time, open to true love, that's the real challenge. It takes courage to maintain independence without erecting walls of mistrust that exclude authentic connections. Many immature men don't know how to deal with a woman who doesn't need saving. They have been conditioned to believe that their value lies in being the hero. When they meet a woman who has already saved herself, they feel unnecessary, and, unconsciously, they try to sabotage her to restore the dynamic in which they feel superior. Nietzsche said, "What doesn't kill me makes me stronger." And every woman who goes through the fire of self-abandonment to emerge as her own owner carries this truth tattooed on her soul. Your strength is not a shield against love, but a natural filter to ward off what is too weak to keep up with you. Modern relationships require more than passion, they require emotional maturity. They require both to be integers before they are even. They demand that love not be a hiding place for deficiencies, but an overflow of two already full sources. We need to dispel the myth that being independent means being cold or inaccessible. True independence is not about isolating yourself from love, but about choosing to love from abundance, not need. Whatever you do, do it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, recalls Colossians 3:23. And here's the secret, a truly independent woman doesn't look for someone to complete her. She is looking for someone to accompany her. May you dance with her at the same rhythm of life, without needing to lead or be led, but simply walk side by side. So, if you feel that your strength scares you, remember, you are not too much. You are the exact measure for anyone who has the courage to meet you at their own level of consciousness. Now, reflect, could it be that, without realizing it, you still carry old patterns within you that say that you will only be complete if you follow the social script that is expected of you? How not to get lost in outdated social standards. From an early age, you were bombarded with narratives about what it means to succeed. Get married early, build a perfect family, have a linear career without deviations. But what if these ready-made formulas were just gilded cages, created to imprison free souls? The truth is that many social standards were shaped for contexts that no longer exist. They were useful once, but insisting on them today is like trying to navigate the modern ocean using old maps. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, says Romans 12:2. The invitation is for renewal, not for blind repetition. Most of the expectations you carry are not even yours. They were implemented, by families, by cultures, by systems that associate personal value with unrestricted obedience. But those who live to please other people's scripts never write their own story. The danger of following outdated standards is living a script that, deep down, never made sense to you. It's waking up one day, in the middle of your life, and realizing that everything you built was based on the fear of disappointing, not on the desire to be authentic. Nietzsche said, "Become who you are." But to do that, you need courage to disappoint the world, before you yourself become disappointed with the life you've led. Courage to abandon the known trails and open new clearings in the middle of the forest of expectations. Many social standards were created to control, not to liberate. Getting married early, working until you burn out, accumulating status. None of these, in and of themselves, guarantee happiness. Without awareness, These goals become invisible prisons. And freedom isn't about doing what's expected of you, it's about knowing who you are even when no one is looking. The soul feels when it is being forced to live a plot that does not belong to it. It whispers in the form of insomnia, anxiety, melancholy for no apparent reason. These symptoms are the silent language of your inner self asking for authenticity. In John 8:32 it is written, "And they will know the truth, and the truth will set them free." The truth about yourself, when finally faced, has the power to break invisible chains stronger than any physical prison. Being free today is a subversive act. It's having the courage to draw your own map, even if everyone around you tries to convince you to follow the beaten path. It's understanding that your mission is not to please an outdated standard, but to reveal the unique beauty of the path you were born to follow. Now, ask yourself, is your need to control every step of the journey preventing you from trusting the natural flow of life? The importance of letting go of control and trusting in life. There is a silent paradox that few have the courage to accept: the more you try to control life, the more it slips through the cracks of your anxiety. True strength is not in grasping the future with tense hands, but in opening your hands, trusting, and walking in faith. The desire for control is born from fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of repeating old pains. Fear of not being enough. But control is a fragile illusion. As it is written in Proverbs 19:21, "Many are the plans in the heart of man, but the purpose of the Lord prevails." Life is wise. She knows which doors need to close to redirect us. She knows what storms are needed to clean up what is no longer useful. But while you cling to rigid expectations, you close your hands to receive the invisible gifts that the flow of existence holds. Trusting is not being passive. Trust is acting with awareness, but surrendering the results to something greater than your own ego. As Seneca said, "Life, if well lived, is long. And living well is accepting that not everything can, or should, be under your control." How many times have you tried to force something that seemed perfect, only to find out later that it was your prison? Life sees what you don't yet see. She protects you, even when she seems to frustrate you. Letting go of control is an act of mature faith. Faith not in the dogmatic sense, but as a state of consciousness. Faith that there is intelligence in chaos, purpose in pain, and compassion in the silent unfolding of circumstances. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will do it all, says Psalm 37:5. When you trust, something magical happens. Your energy changes. You stop vibrating anxiety and start vibrating permission. And life, which responds to your real vibration, begins to conspire in your favor in ways that your limited mind could never have planned. It's not easy. Letting go of control requires dying to the image of who you thought you were supposed to be. It requires accepting losses, changes, new beginnings. But each time you choose to trust, you plant invisible seeds that, in time, will blossom in ways that you cannot even imagine today. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it. It's building the bridge while walking. It's looking into the void and, even without guarantees, taking the next step, because something inside you knows that you didn't come this far to give up now. So tell me, are you really trusting? Or are you just trying to hide your fear of losing what was never yours to keep? Strengthen faith as a basis for self-confidence and achievement. You can have talent, discipline, intelligence. But without faith, it all becomes a castle built on sand. Faith is not just believing in something external, it is trusting that you were created with a purpose, that your existence is not an accident, and that there is an invisible hand guiding your steps. True self-confidence comes from this deep root, knowing that you are not alone. That there is something bigger than your doubts, bigger than your fears, bigger than your failures. As Hebrews 11:1 says, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things we do not see." When you strengthen your faith, something changes in your energy. You stop walking through the world like someone begging for acceptance, and start walking like someone carrying a calling. Confidence no longer depends on external applause. It comes from within, sustained by a source that the world cannot touch. True self-confidence is not arrogance. It's humility. It's recognizing that your strength doesn't just come from you, it comes from those who created you. "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me," reminds us of Philippians 4:13. Faith is what keeps you standing when logic crumbles. When circumstances seem to scream that it's time to give up, faith whispers that there is still a way. When life seems meaningless, faith holds your hand in the dark and guides you one step further. Trust without faith is presumption. Faith without action is stagnation. But when faith and action go together, you become unstoppable. You plant with patience. You reap with gratitude. You advance without needing to see the entire map, because you know who draws the path. Strengthening your faith is strengthening your vital energy. It's connecting with what really matters: purpose, mission, true love. Faith aligns your steps with the frequency of abundance, protection and authentic fulfillment. It is faith that transforms waiting into preparation, pain into polishing, doubt into growth. Without faith, every obstacle feels like a punishment. With faith, each obstacle becomes an invitation to expand your consciousness and refine your inner strength. And in the end, life won't judge you by the goals you achieved or the applause you received. She will ask you, did you trust? Did you love it? Have you fulfilled the purpose for which you were sent? Now, look within and ask yourself, is my faith small because my eyes are on the difficulty? Or can it be strengthened if I choose to focus on the purpose that brought me here? By now, perhaps you've realized that the answers you were looking for outside were always waiting inside you. Every pain that seemed unfair, every loss that seemed cruel, every emptiness that seemed unbearable. All this did not come to break you. It came to reveal the strength you were called to build. The world will continue to try to define your value. It will keep trying to convince you that you need to be more, have more, look more. But now you know, what really matters is not what the world says about you. It's what you tell yourself when the world is silent. And then I ask you, what is the story you will decide to live from now on? Will it be the story of the pain that held you back? Or the faith that finally set you free? If any part of this video spoke to you, if any words touched you where no one else could, I invite you to do two things. Subscribe to the channel here to continue your journey of awakening and strengthening. Leave a comment below, telling me, what was the thing that crossed you the most today? Remember, every time you choose courage over fear, truth over illusion, faith over control, you are silently rewriting the destiny you were born to live. And here, in this space, you will never be alone on this journey. See you on the next dive.